They're the ones who make it happen. They're the ones who get it done. And that's why we shine the spotlight on them on Business for Breakfast. It's time now for the Business Leaders Spotlight on Money Radio.
Well, it is that time of the week once again. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:35 a.m., we have the unique opportunity to sit down and visit with some of the Valley's business leaders, both men and women, making a big difference right here in our own backyard in our community. Our next guest has ventured out, and I'm excited to have him come in and tell us a little bit about what he and his business partner have started and how they're going to make a lot of big changes right here in our community. Let me introduce you to Josh Wagner. He is with In Revenue Capital, and he joins us this morning in studio on Business for Breakfast. What's up, bud? How you doing?
Hey, good morning, Mark. Good to be here.
I appreciate your time. I'm excited to hear more about this venture. I've always known you've had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, right? But you did, let's go back because I like to feature the person. So you worked with a company and for a company and did some really great things for, what, about a decade?
Yeah, I spent about a decade with a local organization in Scottsdale called LeadMD. Our offices weren't far from the studio, actually.
I had the owner of LeadMD on this program years ago.
And that owner of LeadMD is my business partner now. But essentially, I spent the last decade helping around 4,500 companies build their go-to-market strategy. Right. So we were an agency. We focused on marketing and sales. And the biggest thing that we did was we sold through our technology partners. So we worked with a lot of big software companies out of the Bay Area, New York, Atlanta, and took their technology, married it with our services, and helped companies use that to build what their go-to-market motions would look like. And that's what I spent the last decade doing, mostly doing enterprise sales. So, really bringing those deals together, bringing our partners to the deals, bringing the companies that we were selling to into those deals and designing solutions.
Right. So get me to the point of in revenue capital. You decide to do something different, take it to the next level kind of thing?
We did. So Justin sold LeadMD in February of 21 is when that transaction closed. I was a shareholder, obviously. I'd been there a long time, an early employee. And we stayed on and helped with the transition for about 18 months. It was actually about this time last year that we went to breakfast down the street at Snooze and said, hey, listen, we got about 6 months left. What are we going to do next? Right. And we started throwing stuff at the wall. And neither of us wanted to start another services business. We knew all the pitfalls and what goes with running that type of business.
Right.
And where we landed was taking on venture capital, which seems like a crazy thing to get into, having zero background in venture capital, right? But I had done a lot of my sales through venture capital and private equity firms when we were at LeadMD. Justin has had this, LeadMD would be his fifth exit. First exit I was a part of. And one of the things that we loved in that business was helping the early stage founders. We worked with a lot of different size companies, small companies to Fortune 100 companies.
Right.
But that early stage is a really interesting inflection point for organizations. And what they really lack, once they start to get some traction and what they call product market fit, is they lack that go-to-market fit, which means how do you scale beyond the founder just selling the stuff to bringing in a sales organization? How do we start doing marketing and putting some awareness of the product out in the market? How do we find and start selling through partners and those types of things? So we said if we can combine capital allocation like a venture capitalist would, but hands-on with operator expertise where we're not advisory, right? There are VCs out there that have operators as advisors, right? And it's a lightweight, like, hey, it's very reactive. We've got a problem. We want to buy this thing. What do you think?
Right.
We literally work side by side with the founder, writing sales playbooks, hiring, firing, running sales meetings, scaling out the go-to-market motion, doing all of these different types of things.
And I would imagine it's appealing for someone out there to look at yourself and Justin. Again, you said that was Justin's fifth exit,
correct?
Which is crazy. So obviously he kind of knows what he's doing. I would think you would argue.
Yep.
And so that's the kind of team I want on my side, right? Like if I'm going to do this kind of thing. So give me the process. Like I'm a guy. I got this company. I got this idea. I'm not the Fortune 100. I want to get there maybe someday. What's play one?
Yeah. So we are very narrow in our focus. And I think that's what's given us a leg up. Part of the process right now is frankly making friends.
Right.
And that looks like other venture capitalists, startup founders, limited partners, which are investors, right? We're just making friends constantly and spreading the word. What we look for is what we know, right? If we're going to step into a business that heavy, we need to have confidence that we can step in and make an impact. So we look for B2B, business to business organizations that sell SaaS, which is software as a service. And we look for it in a niched vertical market. We're not looking for broad-based applications. We're looking for a founder that grew up in a space, found a problem, is scratching an itch in that space, and now has created a product that is getting some traction, right? So that traction looks like 6 to 12 customers maybe, that is worth maybe on the low end $100,000 in annual recurring revenue, on the high end maybe $1 million in annual recurring revenue. And now they really need to scale that go-to-market motion. So that's what we're looking for very specifically.
Josh Wagner is the voice you hear. He's our guest. He is one of the founders of In Revenue Capital, just founded recently and really starting to get off the ground and moving. You mentioned making friends. I think part of the thing we want to talk about, there are investment opportunities inside of your company for people that might have, they don't really want to do the heavy lifting, but they love the idea and let you guys do your thing. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously in venture, it's an interesting world, right? We put our money where our mouth is. We put our own money up in every deal, but we raise as well. So in the venture world, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. The most traditional is by raising a fund. Say you go raise $10 million, you go out to a group of what's called limited partners, and they contribute to that fund. And as the manager of the capital firm, you get to decide how that capital gets allocated and where it gets allocated. We go a little bit of a different way. We're a new firm. We don't have a track record, so it's a little hard to go to investors and say, hey, give me $1 million and trust me.
Yeah,
right? So we do what's called an SPV, a single purpose vehicle model, which means think of it like in real estate, right? In real estate, you go out, you find a deal, you go find people to help invest in that deal with you. We do it that way. So we're out constantly vetting deals, a lot of no's, frankly, but when we see a deal, we find it, we go into diligence, we wrap it up, we get a term sheet, we get committed, then we go out and start raising capital for that deal, right? So we typically put anywhere from 10 to 20% into every deal that we fund. We write $1 to $3 million checks into those organizations, and then we go raise the rest through a pool of limited partners who have either already invested with us or have committed and saying, I'm interested in investing with you.
Let me ask you this. As you obviously had, I don't want to call it a windfall, but money come in, right?
Sure.
For being a partner of this lead MD that was sold, and Justin has done this 5 times over.
Yep.
So you guys have capital of your own.
We do.
How long until this is like, you're taking a chance as well, right?
We are.
This is a startup for startups or for companies that are, trying to get to the next level. So what's that look like as a business owner? Because what I talked about this yesterday of taking chances, right, in life. Sometimes you're throwing a curveball. Not that you guys were throwing a curveball, but just taking a chance and going down a path that might be uncomfortable because you just said, like, wait, what? We're not venture, And so the chance that you take, maybe capital that you're risking, if you will, to get to that next level. What's that mindset for you as a business owner?
It's a shift. I mean, Justin probably gets it a little better than I do because he spent the last decade funding a company and bootstrapping it himself. Right. So when payroll had to be paid,
he had to pay.
It basically came down to him.
Right.
I had the luxury of a small salary, but I built up a great book of business and was making tremendous money on commissions as a salesperson, right? It's eat what you kill now. If we don't have deals and we don't have investors to help us fund those deals, then we're not collecting any management fees, then I'm not eating.
Right.
It's literally that simple.
Right.
So I don't have the type of FU money, right? To say I can't be doing nothing, right? So it's a big risk, but I can tell you the excitement and really every day is fun because there are so many different types of businesses out there. All these founders are dynamic. They love what they do. Going out and raising money is a rush, right? There's all these different things that go into it. You have to care about it.
And I think, getting that recognition around the Valley, that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on here today is because I know what you guys are about. I've seen Justin's work, and I think it's important that, once you have that name and there is trust, then, the sky's the limit because you guys have done good things. You're not selling snake oil over here. You know what I mean? And so I think that's pretty cool. If I have people listening right now, they're like, hey man, this is awesome. Whether it's to get your help or to help with funding or stuff like that, what's kind of the best way to reach out and get in touch with you
The
guys?
easiest way, go to inrevenue.capital. That's our website. You can see our investment thesis there. You can see our other partners, some of our LPs, things like that. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Josh Wagner. I'm pretty prominent. I do a lot of content there, so more than happy to have you visit there.
Is this Lead MD by the end, you had a few employees, right?
We did, yeah. So when I started in 2014, we were about 15 employees and roughly $3 million in revenue. And when we sold in 21, we were about 55 employees and $22 million in revenue.
Wow, that's awesome. And so now I guess my question with this is this company one that you'll have a ton of employees, or is this more a smaller scale?
It will be a much smaller scale, just
Right.
the nature of the business. Some of the things you see venture firms do is bring in operating partners, which we act as the operating partners,
Right, so
frankly,
you don't need
in
that,
the
right,
business.
yeah.
But what we are building is what we call our operating network. Because we've been in this space for so long, we have a lot of people across sales, marketing, partnerships, in those functions that would be more than happy to work with us within our portfolio. So we're building out a model where we can bring them on for contract, maybe contract for hire within our portfolio, and potentially get access to sweat equity that they may not otherwise be able to do.
He is Josh Wagner. He is one of the founders of In Revenue Capital, their website, inrevenue.capital. If you want to find out more, inquire within. Josh is a great guy. He's got my stamp of approval, and I think it's awesome what you guys are doing, man. I love the entrepreneurial spirit and the next thing, the next great thing, and I think you guys will do well. Keep us posted. Come back in a few months. Tell us how it's
Would
going.
love to.
All right, there you go. That's Josh Wagner, our business leader spotlight, In Revenue Capital. Again, the website, inrevenue.capital, and find out a little bit more about this growing company.